Welcome to this month's Makers with Heart collaboration. All of the makers will be featuring slimline thin cuts this month from Close to My Heart. I am Kati Weeks, an independent Close to My Heart maker, and I'm glad you stopped by my channel today. All of the thin cuts that are featured in this series will be on a playlist in my description, and they will also be found in the core catalog and the September-October catalog. So here are the two cards that I'm going to make for you today. My challenge was to use the Hearts Slimline Thin Cut, and I started off trying to cut some of the stencil film that we used to carry so I could make myself a stencil out of this thin cut. I ran the thin cut through the Close to My Heart die cutting and embossing machine. I love this because you can easily change how tight or loose you have for pressure going through the machine, but no matter what I kept playing with, it still just didn't cut through. It really just embossed that stencil film. So I grabbed a transparency that I had in my stash and I cut it down to the size of the slimline cards, and I ran that Hearts Slimline through, and it worked wonderfully. And then you see I used my Distressed Oxides with this stencil that I created from our thin cut. And the Distressed Oxide colors that I used were Tattered Rose, and then Abandoned Coral, and then Carved Pumpkin at the bottom. And I kept working my way back and forth to blend those colors together nicely. And you may have noticed that I used washi tape just to hold it in place while I was doing my stenciling. I also cut some paper from the pumpkin spice paper pack so that I could decorate the inside and outside of this card. And then I used the wood stickers. I used a pumpkin, and I also used some stickers from the pumpkin spice, and I used my Le Pen that was coral pink. So the outside of the card says, "Hey there, pumpkin," and the inside I put "It's snuggle weather." I just wrote the word "it's" inside. I think it turned out cute. For this next card, I'm going to cut out from the mix-in paper with the Hearts Slimline an overlay for a shaker card, and I'm going to be using the shaker window foam and acetate. Again, I used the same Distressed Oxides. I used Tattered Rose, then Abandoned Coral, then Carved Pumpkin, and I did the same thing on the smaller pieces that I cut with that Hearts Slimline Thin Cut. I just made sure that I kept going back and forth with my blending tool and really blended when it went from one color to the next, so there would be a very smooth transition. I think decorating the inside of the card with something similar to what you have on the outside of the card really ties the whole thing together and gives it a lot of cohesiveness. Next, I'm going to put down the shaker window foam and acetate, and I use the anti-static pouch to prep the card front first so that it's not as staticky. And then I take my foam sheet and I run my scissors around the frame, and then I remove the backing to that frame. Then I press it down on the front of my card and I carefully peel up all of those extra foam squares that I have to use for another project. That just makes it really easy. And then I'm going to add some of my pretty shaker items to the inside of the card, and then I decide I really want some of them to be stuck in place, and I used my glue and a pickup tool. I can't wait actually to get the new pickup tool that Close to My Heart sells, and I just put these in place so that they were randomly scattered throughout the background and not just all at the bottom of the card for the shaker window. The next thing I do is I peel off the backing to the acetate and put that down on the front so I have my shaker element, and then I put on my Hearts slimline that I cut out, and I put some adhesive around the edges and put that on the front of my card. And after I put this on the front of my card, I realized that it didn't completely cover the foam that went with that foam shaker window. And so I actually went back and used the Slimline shaker thin cut and cut myself another frame. For the sentiment on the front of the card, I used the Smile Big stamp set. This is our Operation Smile stamp set for this year, and so I'd really encourage you to purchase it and support Operation Smile. And I used the sentiment that said, "You make my heart smile." And I stamped it on just a thin cut that I had in my scrap bin, and I used the Abandoned Coral Distressed Oxide ink, and then I went ahead and used my clear embossing powder on it, and I heat set it, and I really like how it turned out. And then I decided I would go around and ink the edges of this little shape with the carved pumpkin Distressed Oxide ink as well. And then I wanted to add a little pizzazz to it, so I got out my silver shimmer tape and I went ahead and cut some little decorative things to hang out from the outside and used foam dots to pop it up on the front of my card. And I, again, like to carry things from the front to the inside of my card. So then after I finish decorating the front, you see that I take the same silver shimmer tape and I put it inside my card as well. And the inside of that frame that I cut, I also used for the inside of my card so that you can write a sentiment. So once I finished decorating this, I decided that both cards turned out pretty cute, but I wanted to add some liquid pearls to the front of both cards. And for both of these, I just used the rose gold, white opal, and the bisque liquid pearls. And I put random dots all the way up that strip on the front of my A2 size card. And then on my larger slimline card, I put all 3 liquid pearls in groups by color in groups of 3. And so you would see 3 rose gold, 3 white opal, and 3 bisque. And I just did that all around the outside of the card. And I think it turned out pretty cute. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I used the Hearts Slimline Thin Cut, and that you learned a little something about the Distressed Oxide and how I use them both through a stencil and as a background. So you probably saw Dawn share with us yesterday. She had the star cluster thin cut that she worked with. And tomorrow, Julie has something planned for us with the polka dot thin cut. And I hope you can check them out. And if you get a chance, go ahead and give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell for your notifications, and make sure you share this video. Don't forget to check out the playlist that's in my description. Thanks.